Welcome to this webinar, discussion, conversation on the best strategies for upgrading to Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central. With me today, I have Jochen Held and Alexander Broos from Comsol, one of our partners in Germany, and Johan Ademark from NAV Solution in Sweden. And my name is Søren Fink Jensen, and I'm the CEO of One Click Factory, who's hosting this webinar and conversation. I want to start with giving our guests here a time to introduce themselves and their companies. So with that, I think I'll give the word to Jochen, and you can, start our kick-off short description of who Comsol is, which customers it focuses on, and a little bit about yourself.
Okay. So, hello everybody. My name is Jochen Held, and first some words to Comsol. Comsol has been founded 30 years ago, and since 1994, we are focused on Navision, and we have two business units. One for developing horizontal apps, which are sold through the partner channels, and one division with a traditional project business. And I think in 2050, we started cooperation and partnership with One Click Factory. And I think since October 2018, we are listed on App Store. So we get a lot of experience for doing apps and being on the cloud. And I think some of you knows us from the Direction conferences because we often give the orange balls. And some words to my person. I studied electric engineering, and I'm also in the business since 1994. And my part at the Comsol is more the technical challenges, everything around with Navision, Business Central, infrastructure questions, doing new business, getting new features run, playing with apps, and so on is my area where I am active. And so now I want to hand over the ball to Alex.
Really, depending where people are sitting, whatever. So yeah, as you get the notice, Johan is the fun guy of the company. He has all the fun in his area. I'm responsible for the project business at Comsol. It may be interesting for you. Comsol has all over around 50 people, and we are nearly splitted, so 20 people consulting, 20 people product development support, and also a lot of people are working in central services. But maybe to get an idea on our company size. And yeah, I'm in the business since 1999, starting as a developer, consultant, and so on. And yeah, now responsible for the project business, and this would be the reason why I'm here today. And so, Johan, just get not the ball, or maybe
well, yeah, my name is Johan Ademark. I'm the CEO of NAV Solutions from Sweden. I've been around in this community since Navision Financials 1.1, and back then it's about 20 years ago something. And the kind of discussions were very similar to the ones we have now. The difference back then was that is the client server technology really better than the old text-based? And there was so many limitations in functionality in client servers, the client server. But I was new back then, so I thought that text-based was old. We should go for the new stuff. The people I worked with thought that we should stick with the stuff that works. Eventually, they jumped on the client server train. And then we had the same thing about 10 years ago, I think, when the role-tailored client come along. And my colleague thought we should stay to client server. So then I had to remind them a little bit. Do you remember 10 years ago? And it's like, okay. And now we're at the same thing. Should we go to SaaS, or should we stick on the stuff that we know everything about? And to give you a clue, I'm pro the SaaS environment. And over the years, I had most roles. I've been a developer, but since many years back, I'm not allowed to write any more code. I've been consultant, project manager, but for most of the time, the last 10 years, it's been selling and customer relations. Our customers, we try to segment them in more in how they like to buy and consume the software. So we have the customers who really want to have simplicity, and they tend to be smaller. They don't have to be, but most likely there are 3 to 15 users. We implement them with template installations, packaged projects as fixed price, fixed timeline, fixed scope, and we can get them live in a week. And these customers, they're about 80 to 100, I don't know the exact number right now. They are already in the SaaS environment. And that's the only way you can deliver that kind of model in an efficient way. And then we have the more traditional NAV customer. They buy value. They look at what kind of software and a project give them back in return. It's most likely a project where we do customizations. We use apps, of course, as well. And we work with them for a couple of months or a year, and then you evaluate the project and they run it for a while, and then we start another project. These customers 10 to 100 users maybe. And then we have the big customers. They don't have to be that many more users, but they use NAV or Business Central as a part of their operations, and it's most likely integrated to a lot of other systems, and we use it for finance or for something very specific, and they buy control. So they buy a fixed number of hours of every month, and let's say we have 20 customers like that, but they are a big part of our revenue, and some of them are internationally known as Volvo Cars and IKEA, but they don't use Business Central for building cars or furniture. It's more counting some of the money. That's and we do build apps, of course, under another brand called Smart Apps, which you might find on App Stores.
Okay. How many people are you, Johan?
We're 75.
Okay, thank you. Alexander, Johan, you want to comment a bit on your client base, just so people get a little feel for that?
Yeah. So I think, first, in comparison to Johan, we don't serve these small business. So those fixed price fast packages, it was a decision some years ago. We said this is not our scope, or not now, maybe after this talk. We have such typical, as you propose, the value or the control buyers. So typical projects. And from the relation, it's nearly the same. So let's say around 20% of the customers make half of the revenue. The bigger projects, mid-sized projects, but also the running consulting services we are doing, and a lot of the other half make the rest. And there are a couple of them, let's say a handful, not really a handful, which are really big. So we have a user base upper than 50 or 100. But the common, let's say the common console customer, CCC, is nearly the same. So around from 5 to 15 users, SMB more small than M, so mid-sized, and yeah, that's the typical customer from console. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. And thank you for joining me here today. We think that the topic that we are talking about, upgrading to Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central, is a hot topic. I think all the partners are looking at that. Maybe some have some experience already, but the reason why we brought you together here is to share some of that experience, and so that everybody can learn from each other. And thank you to everybody that has joined the webinar. It's good to have you here, and I hope you'll find some get some value out of this. So I want to start out a bit on the market. So given the Corona situation and the last year and a half, ups and downs, has anything changed in your business? And maybe specifically relating also to our topic of migrations to Business Central SaaS. Johan, you want to start?
Yeah, I can start. From our perspective, nothing really changed. We tried for many years to work as remote as possible with our customers, and some customers being reluctant to that. But during COVID, it's been a lot easier for the customers to accept that it actually works to do projects over Teams. So from our side, it's been, last year was our best year ever. So from that regard, it works. I would say that most of the customers we talk to, for them, cloud that's where they want to be. If that's due to COVID or it's just a mega trend, I think more of a mega trend than COVID actually. And from the new customers we bring on, I would say 9 out of 10 go for the SaaS environment, and the ones who don't go for the SaaS environment, there has to be a very good reason for us to take them on as a customer. And looking at how they buy, we can see that for the mid-sized customers who traditionally did customizations and buying as on value, as I said before, there's no difference. We deliver the same way. We're just using a new tool. And existing customers, they want to go to SaaS because they realize they have to upgrade eventually, and they hear about the benefits now. The SaaS version's been around so long now, and they realize it's stable, and so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alexander, you have any comment on the market in I guess Germany mostly?
Yeah. So from console perspective, obviously the workload was the same. So from this perspective, there was no real impact for sure. March, April, it was a little bit slower. Some decisions were postponed, or also go live was postponed. But I think because of our broad customer installation base, if there was a negative impact, there was a positive impact. So overall, nearly, as Johan said, we also had to say no to some new customers or leads. But what really was an impact that some of the really long old customers of Comsol, where the update discussion or the cloud discussion was never really a discussion, now came over because of home office, because of everything, because of digitalization, whatever, because of maybe some more budget they found somewhere, or they had the need to raise up an e-commerce shop or becoming more EDI, electronic interchange, communication with their suppliers, and also the supplier situation, so that they had the need to think about where can I get my goods also when this supplier cannot deliver. I had the 2 customers had a big issue there. This made their mind open for everything around cloud in general, and especially Microsoft solutions, because of the Teams topic. So the usage of Teams was increased. I don't know how it increased in Germany, and when you come from Teams, then you think about, okay, how to work with the ERP, what is the connection, you get all of the informations around Office 365 and whatever. So this was really a push in the discussions for us, for customers who were very lazy in the last years, but also new ones who said, okay, I had an update 2 years ago, but I want the new one. I need this. Do I have to do an update? And then you can say yes, or for sure you have to do an update. Not at all, let's say. But there was a combination of this cloud topic, this Teams topic, and that people were opener, even in Germany, for the cloud topic and the ERP and the cloud topic now. Yeah.
Okay, nice to hear. So I can say from One Click Factory side, it's been, I would say, a bit of a roller coaster. So we were very booked in March last year. Thanks for that. Thanks for that. And then nothing happened actually in the next quarter. By the end of June, though, we got another big bunch of orders, and that took us through the summer and into the fall. And then we also a very big hoster of Asia. And that part, what we saw, the behavior on that was actually that in March, April, May, June last year, there was a lot of optimization going on. So customers was basically turning down the volume of users, I think as a kind of plan B to make sure that in case their revenues wouldn't be met, they reduce the cost. I will say now that a year later, I think everything is pretty much back to totally normal. I don't see any difference basically anywhere in the world. We do take a view worldwide as we deliver worldwide, and I would say the roller coaster was a bit different in New Zealand and Australia compared to the US and Europe, right? So there were different speeds on that, where things happened in different ways in different parts of the world. But I see very much that everything, it's kind of like the world has gotten used to the idea of Corona, and that it's there, and that we need to work anyway, and we found ways to do that. And Teams is one good example of that, of course. And so business continues, including the plans to migrate to the cloud. And we do see a little more demand on migrations now than we have seen for many years. That is happening for sure. So I guess that was a short topic on the topic of the market. So maybe we should take a round now and talk a little bit about the migration business and upgrade business. So how do you see that now? How is that going? And maybe you can comment a little bit on potential challenges you see in migrating to Business Center SaaS, Business Center on-premise. And yeah, Jochen, you want to start here, or Alexander?
Yes, you want, Jochen? You want, or
you?
Okay, yeah, for sure. So I got some figures, and from 2018, or other way around, 2016, we had a customer base with 80% on a version 2009 or lower. That was a big issue. And then 2 years later, 2018, we had still 50% on a version 2009 or 2013. This was a big point or it was a turnaround point at Comsol, because we found out that if we want our customers to be always close, up to date with their ERP solution, and we should deliver this service that they are always up to date and doing all those updates from NAV whatever to whatever in Business Central, we would have worked for the whole Comsol for the next 10 years. So just doing those updates, and when you do the updates, then those where you did the updates again need an update, and so on. And this was something which came into our mind the last years, and we decide what to do, and it's the same decision we now have to do. And what you have to, when you think about the topic update or update to SaaS or whatever, you have to decide where you want to go with your company. So what is your core competency, and what do you want to do in the next 2 years or 4 years? What I want to say is, our company was really successful with delivering all services around NAV in the last 30 years. But the basket of tools, of requirements from our customers, of the speed around the console is much more higher than the speed inside of the console. And we decided for us that there is stuff like, for example, update procedures with our customers, which is not our core competency. Our core competency is doing consulting business, and we need it much more higher than in the past, because we want to bring the customer closer to the standard, and closer to a standard especially which is compatible with the SaaS. And then to have the time to do such a consulting business, we have to make more free time for the consultants, and that means that they should not do so much technical stuff. So what I want to say is, if you think about where to stay with your company in the next years, you have really, you need to put everything on the table, from the business central, from technical wise, consulting wise, from apps, from Microsoft business applications, from Azure, from whatever. My desk is full now. And you have to decide for yourself and for your employees and for your colleagues, what are the areas you can really provide a good business in future, because you have a lot of knowledge, you have a lot of people, the people want to do it, and what not, and you have to divide. I think the time for a consulting partner who covers all of those topics by himself or herself is over. And when you think about your customer base in 2, 3, 4, 5 years, you must decide where you want to go and which of your customers go with you and which not. And this was a point in 2016 for us, this was a point in 2018. And it's again now a point for us now when we see that more and more customers from us really go to the cloud, so the SaaS. And at Comso we decided that the default for each new customer or a customer who is doing the update with us is the SaaS solution, independently if he or she wants or not. Even if they found reasons why they do not want, which could make sense, we say, okay, but then you go on-prem cloud ready, which does not mean that we will put you in the cloud in 2 years, but we want that you act on-prem the same way as if you would act in the cloud. So you get the monthly updates, you are always up to date. Just the difference is you're maybe running on a private Azure machine or running somewhere in the cellar or under the table on a machine, whatever. But this is our default, and to provide this service, we as a Comso, because we have just 50 people and consultants do not come somewhere around the corner, we have to decide what is our core competency, which service we can really deliver as a Comso, and which services we really cannot deliver, even if we want, we cannot. So we have to find some strong partner or building some network. All of this, what we did in the last years, for example, with user or other partners. These are my thoughts around everything around update, around Business Central, around SaaS, the future, and I hope you could follow me. There were a lot of thoughts. Yeah.
Thank you, Alexander. I think that was pretty clear. So it's definitely about focusing more now. The world has become more complex, basically, technologically, right? So find your strong sides and continue to work on those. Then get partners for the rest.
Yeah.
Johan, you want to comment a little bit?
Yeah. Our story is very similar. When we saw the SaaS version coming, we realized that it's going to take a lot of effort to have a SaaS ready organization, and we thought, where should we spend our time? And we thought it was better for us to build what we need to maintain our customers and their customizations when they are on the cloud than building tools to migrate them to the cloud, because we're simply too small to do everything. So we're looking at all the things we need to do and what makes sense to do on your own and what makes sense to try to find someone else to do for you. It was quite easy decision to say that the migration to SaaS is better to find someone else to do. And since we had a long-term relationship with OneClick before, that was easy for us to talk to Søren. And looking at our customer base, we have to move them to SaaS as fast as possible, because as Alexander said, there's so much things going on, not only with Business Central, but with the whole Dynamics offering from Microsoft. Just to keep up with that is hard enough. Also having customers on legacy versions, it's going to be like a boat anchor. It's really hard to pick up speed and be where at least we want to be. So.
Okay, so what are your results so far, Johan? How big a part of your customer base is today on SaaS, and how much is still on old technology and needs to be migrated?
Yeah, it's I would say that 45% or something like that is on SaaS, if you count number of customers. If you count number of users, it's not that good. So what we've done so far is we kind of split our customers in 4 segments. The ones who want to go to SaaS and they have installations that are fairly easy to move to SaaS, and that's the ones we try to move now, and we'll focus on for the next 6 months or something. And then we have the customers who we think that it's fairly easy to move, but they don't want to. I mean, there's all kinds of reasons why, but it's mainly because they don't understand why it's good for them. So these customers we try to educate, and we think that if we tell them just enough number of times, they will eventually understand. So we will try to move them in our second phase. And then we have the ones that actually want to go to the SaaS environment, but there could be some technical reasons, or there could be other projects that they have to do before that makes things complicated. And then we try to just manage and keep them encouraged and figure out ways to solve their technical issues. And that could be finding third-party solutions. It could be talking to Microsoft. It could be pretty much anything we need to do, and that's the ones we want to move in our third wave. And then we have the tough ones. It's technically very complicated to move them, and they don't want to. And those customers we just leave alone for now, and we start talking to them in a couple of years when we're ready with the rest of the customers. We think that's the best way to segment the customers and take them in kind of the right order.
So Alexander, Johan, how far are you on the cloud journey?
I think about 5 to 10 customers are in the cloud, but the same, only the small size. So I think between 1, 2, 3, or at maximum 10 to 15, perhaps one is in the cloud with the user base. So at average, I think 4 to 5 users per customer. So, but I think the cloud ready. So, and the other question is, what is cloud ready? So we take the opportunity to move these complex customers to Business Central 14 to have the backdoor of CIL and to do the next steps to move or to think about how to move this solution to AL and run in the next step to the cloud. But I think now a lot of projects running which goes to Business Central 16 or 17 or next week or the next week's 18. So I think yes, I think between, I don't know, Alexander, do you have the right numbers? But I think perhaps 20% are on the newest versions, and I think the biggest or the bigger ones are on the BC14 hybrid solution with CIL and AL.
Yeah, yeah. I don't have the exact figures, but it's nearly like as Jochen described. So some really complex guys are on a BC14, but this was really just a couple of discussion points which brought us there. But the default is really the Business Central Cloud. We also did not use those prolongation where you can also go to a BC14 for a year longer, which was somewhere last year. This is, we didn't take it. We say, okay, go to the new Business Central version or not. And for sure, those projects which have a focus on BREM are not on the latest 17. But this is also one topic. In each project, we put, when the project has the let's say the status where we can say we can go live, please check if you can now make the jump to the latest wave. So this is a very small question, but this should be always part of the project together with the customer. And this is very important because it, from the project management capabilities, it makes it much more complex. But these are the questions you have to discuss with your customer. Also, if you decide, no, we do not go to SaaS, okay, we do not go now, but what do we need to do for maybe in future? So have this continuous discussion. That's the main point. We have currently, I think, around 18% of our customers now have a classic version or 2013. This is okay for us. And for sure, in 2 years, when we talk about the same, will be maybe 11%. This is okay. But we have the same issue as Johan said. For sure, we have developers and consultants who can also do it in a classic version. But first, who wants to do it? And second one, this is something the customer must be aware of, that he will maybe not served in time as he was served in the last 10 years. This is a decision. It's a management decision, but also something in your mind. Maybe one additional point from my personal view and also discussions I had with customers in the last weeks. I think there is now a very important point in time with the Wave 17 or now upcoming Wave 18. The Business Central and the SaaS has the capabilities now to also serve such medium-sized companies, where we decided 1 or 2 years ago, no, we do not go there because of performance issue, technical issues, whatever. But my personal feeling and also of some colleagues, we now think with the 17, the 18, now it's the time. It is, now it's the time for also the medium-sized ones. So discussions would be easier, and also the consultants and developers accept it more. Because I don't want to talk about printing, but some stuff like for administrators and job checking, all of this is really now close to what we want and what the customer accepts.
I just want to add there that even though many of our customers in the SaaS environment, they're quite small, and for them they don't just want easy. They don't really care about a server. They just want to go. So they were the first customers. The second wave of customers we brought on were the big corporations, the listed companies, because they know the complexity of security, and being in a Microsoft cloud it's like a checkbox for them. So I would say the first Volvo Cars, they had one unit that we run in the SaaS environment. They were quite early, and for them it's they don't really have to do that much homework about security for running this as a complementary system. And I think we have 5 or 6 listed companies running on the SaaS version, just because it's I don't know how safe it is compared to other things, but
Well,
Microsoft says it's safe, and that's good enough for them.
it's-
And then I'm happy. And
It-
having those big customers, well-known customers in the SaaS environment, makes it easier for the mid segment, the traditional NAV customer, to go to the SaaS version, because if they do have, of course, all kinds of question about security and performance and all kinds of stuff. And if you say that, hey, Volvo Cars is running it, it's good for them. So most people in Sweden, because Volvo Cars is it's very famous here, they say, well, if it's good enough for them, then it's good enough for me. And today we have several customers with more than 50 full users in the SaaS environment. So I have no doubts migrate a customer to the SaaS environment, not due to the number of users. It's just the way people adopt to new technology. You always get the small ones first because they want the easiest, cheapest stuff they can get. And then you get the really big companies who actually understands the benefits of the new technology. It was the same thing when we hosted our first customer on Azure. We had exactly the same thing, and one of the first big customers was IKEA. And when we told other Swedish companies good enough for IKEA, then it's like, okay, then it's good enough for me. So I don't have no doubts about the platform itself. So it's just more, how do we manage the move, and how do we time it? Because moving the ERP system is complicated for everybody. It doesn't matter really the size of your company. So it is a planning, most likely 6 to 9 months, I think.
Thank you, Johan. So we have a question from the audience, a bit related to this, but I wanted to roll a couple of polls just so we get a little feeling from the audience about how far they are on their cloud journey. And I think it might be interesting to everybody, not just us here, but the audience itself. So Duvile, maybe you can roll the 2 polls, first one, and then give me a couple of seconds to comment on that, and then let's roll the second one right after. Maybe we need to go to the polls tab. Everybody move to the polls tab. It's up in the right corner. And we are beginning to see here. Oh, I think they have both. No, first is running now. And we can see how far people are actually on the SaaS journey. So we have 46% of the audience at 0 currently. We have 28% at 1 to 3. We have 4 to 7 installations in SaaS, 8%, and 8 to 15, 14%, and above 15, 6%. So I would say the SaaS platform is there and is being used. I think that's quite clear. And it seems like there's quite a lot of customers up there when we take this whole audience here. We're about 100 people today. So then the next one was more about how many have actually migrated to SaaS, which is something we'll talk a little bit more about. And we can see here it's still updating. So 22% says they have 0 updates to SaaS, 21%. We are seeing 1 to 3. And then 4 to 7 and 8 to 15 and 15 at around 14% each. So also again, there we are actually, I guess, a bit more in the beginning with still a lot of installations to migrate. We'll talk a little bit about migration methods now after the the question here. The question is from Tobias Leber. I get based on the name. I think it must be out of Germany. The question
what
is.
brings you to such a suggestion? I'm prejudice.
The question here is around the potential downtime in the public cloud. If you've had a hosted or on-premise environment for years without any breakdowns, so a belief that there is 100% uptime in own managed infrastructure environments, and then you pass this responsibility on to Microsoft. How do you convince customers about that?
So I start to answer. I think we have one good example last week's with Exchange. So I think a lot of customers think they are safe. They have their own Exchange server under the desk, and we learned all that that this was a felt safety. So a lot of servers get hacked and are down now. So and the Exchange Online runs. So I think this is one example that is only one. It feels that I'm able to put the power on, but it's not. It means not that the service runs. So, but I understand, and I think there are a lot of things that must work that the Business Central client appears. But I think another points are if the customer has different locations, one location in Munich, one in Frankfurt, one in wherever, and the server is in Munich. So what is if the internet connection is broken and so on? So the half of the company couldn't work. And I think if you have central structures with servers, the chance is more that it will work and work. So I think I understand this, and we get often this question as well. You have to learn to trust, and but on the other hand, I think downtime is always possible for everything. So in the private cloud as well, and as in the public cloud. So that's my answer to this.
So from my point, we have around, so when we think about the last year and this year, we have 5 customers in the SaaS, and we have, there wasn't any downtime I can remember, especially not in the working hours. The same also with the private Azure hosted machines. We have with One Click Factory, for example, if there is a maintenance, then you get an information, and especially the day after the maintenance, people are really aware of it. That's maybe one experience. The other experience is we had sometimes during such COVID situation, and especially if there was some kind of lockdown in Germany, sometimes you encounter an issue, especially also with Teams, that the systems may be a little bit slower. We also had this feeling in autumn last year with the Business Central SaaS solution, but then I just can say, and especially from my own experience, that the support you get for the SaaS environments from Microsoft is really good. Really faster than you would expect, faster we had in the last 20 years. So yesterday I had a call because I couldn't create a sandbox in a new go live environment, and they react really fast, and then always found a good solution, and also explained it to me what it is. And this was for me some practical experience in the last months, where I say this is okay. I even have customer installations where a good IT guys running, but they cannot react faster or better than the guys at Microsoft or wherever. So for sure you don't have the 100%. Maybe you don't feel it, but it will be then slower. So you could discuss, okay, is the system down or slower? What is the bigger issue? But it feels good, or for me especially, the support feels better than it was years ago, where you hopefully got some answer weeks later for your incidents. That is my personal experience on this topic.
Johan, you want to add anything, or?
Yeah, I can just from our experience. I know the experience will be different because the installations run in different clusters, so it could be problems for some companies, but not necessarily for everybody. But from our perspective, 2019 spring was pretty bad. We had outages, we had bad performance, and then I think it was still called the spring release 2019. With that one, it solved a lot of performance issues, and we were quite happy. I thought that this is great, and then from there, I think they renamed it to Wave 2 in 2019 in October. That upgrade caused a lot of problems, and all upgrades have been doing. No upgrade have been running smooth until that anyway, so we were not surprised. But we also got performance issues, and it was pretty bad for some customers, not all customers, in December 2019. And we had a animated discussion with Microsoft on whether this was important and how fast it should be solved. It was better around Christmas and New Year, probably because most people didn't work, so the system was not under pressure. So early January 2020, it was pretty bad for 2 weeks, and we had customers who said that, and we had like a handful of customers who were hit in December and January, and we actually had to go down and look in the contracts, what did it say about uptime and things like that. But then it got a lot better, and the upgrade Wave 1 2020 worked like a dance. So we were really happy. So in May 2020, I told all our customers that now we're through. Now it's going to work. Let's start moving. And then I think it was the 22nd of June. It was a complete outage at 5 o'clock in the morning until 9 o'clock in the morning. And that's the last time we really had problems. We had performance issues on some specific customers this past fall, but that's all been mitigated. I have since I would say September, I have not had any customers complaining about performance or issues like that. No one ever called me that performance is great. I don't think they ever will, but no one is really complaining. And I mean, this is not a promise that there will never be an outage again, but I would say it feels very stable now, and I'm not worried for this update.
I can add a little bit on the private server side. So, I mean, we have a long history on Azure since 2014 with private service offerings. And I think there has been 2 downtimes of more than 3 hours or 4 hours in all of that time. The Azure platform is managed really well. So I don't think that's where the outages really come from. It's probably in the interaction between Business Central and Azure, but Azure is super stable.
Maybe one recommendation for the German guys here. We have in Germany, there's the Go Local initiative, where we have also special German data centers because of much more security and much more whatever. Because of this, there were some performance issues in February and January because they moved. But if you discuss with your customer, this is on the one hand an advantage, the German data center, because for the law and auditors. But on the other hand, regarding to performance and capacity, maybe you should better decide Western Europe in this time, because they have much more performance, more capacities on this data center. So this is something you have to maybe discuss with your customer. So maybe go local later. I don't know exactly how much influence you have on this, but keep it in mind.
Good question. So we have a couple of other questions. I think it's nice to help the audience here. So one of them is around the vanilla Business Central SaaS solution. It requires a different implementation model, and the question is, how do you avoid actually the race to the bottom on services, and maybe also seen in the context of customers paying 100 euros per user per month or thereabouts, maybe with some services built in 120, 130, but how do you actually avoid that becoming a big problem longer term, or in the sales process where you were used to maybe having a 20,000, 30,000 euro upfront services payment? So any thoughts on that, Johan? I think you have worked with these concepts for some years now to try to make sure they don't hit your P&L too tough.
Yeah, we started to think about this, I think it's 8 or 9 years ago, and we don't sell any license anymore. We try to build a recurrent revenue business, and the Microsoft license, yes, we have a margin on it, but and we're happy as long as we can keep it. But I don't want to build my business on that. I want to build my business on things that we add that is hard to duplicate. And in our case is that we do have some apps, and we have services that is connected to the number of user. So different support services and different apps that we control ourselves, and that build us recurrent revenue that today is, I think, 35% of our total income. And a year ago when COVID hit, that was very, very nice to have. And then we try to look at the customers, the smaller ones, or the ones they want to buy simplicity. They don't want to buy hours. So we try to have this packaged templates where it's a fixed price. And regarding going to the bottom, I mean, we know what's a fair price, and we can price it in a way that the market perceives as a good price. And when we do our evaluation on that, we make 3 or 4 times as much money as selling consulting hours. Because if we tell the customer, you can buy this package for 4,000 euros, the customer finds it reasonable. But if we do it in 10 hours, they don't care. But so it's you have to shift mindset a little bit.
It's packaging, and you actually you're building a kind of a fixed service that has value for 4,000 euros, but takes much less to implement because you have thought about how to do it. It's a good answer. Alex, Johan, anything to add to this? Or are you more in the mid market with the larger custom customers?
So I think we think about it, and we have to talk to Johan as well, because we get some requests last weeks, and we try to come to a solution, and not to go with the standard answers of us. Let's make a workshop. Let's start with this and that, and so no, we haven't any experience in this model or in this user size.
I think you must be clear that this is a completely different business. For me, for example, so it's like product development. It's more kind of an assembly line. You need scale effect impacts. You need very focused
Yeah, it is definitely a different business. I mean, we do sell hours as well in traditional projects, but often you can break out parts of that. I mean, like a proof of concept, you probably do the same thing pretty much every time. So why not sell it for a fixed price?
Just one sentence when I have a look on the console, especially where our colleagues come from and how they build up, and it's also keeping change of a mindset, and it's the same as if you decide you will do apps. In the past, it was very easy to have out of a project you have a solution, you put something around it, and then you had a
CFMD.
Something you could sell, and it doesn't make a matter if you will sell thousands or 5. You could put a price on it, and maybe the customer who has it installed makes an update in 5 years. Then so you are not forced to keep it always up to date. You are not forced to keep to do automated tests for the certification and so on. And now we have a real product business. And also at Comsol we had a big bunch of so-called solutions. But just a couple of them we have now in the app stores. And especially those, they have a very professional product business, really other business than the project business on the same platform. And they are only scaling because they have a recurring revenue model behind and not a one-time buy license model. And this is also a lot of changes in our NAV world as we had it the last 20 years ago. And I think it's the same discussion like the smaller business with a lot of usage of templates and fixed price and very fixed services, and the project business. And here in Germany, we have a lot of discussions also with other partners who had several ideas and tries, and it's still not decided and still moving. Maybe Comsol will do it in a year. I don't know.
Okay. So we are at the end of the hour. To the audience, I want to say that under the handout section, there is actually a little thing you can download. It is a white paper on different options and One Click Factory provides for moving to Dynamics Business Central SaaS. Good information to read to understand the different ways you can do this. There was one more question from.
I like to answer to this. If
yeah, sure. I have time, so it's more.
Yes. Okay, only one or two
will stay, I guess, until they don't have time either.
Okay. I think only 1 or 2 minutes. So the question was, what's about really complex solutions? And I think we have the same 2 years or 3 years ago. We have about 5 apps in the partner channel and one really complex app. It's called Multiship. Someone of you knows this, I think. And we started, and certainly I think you like what I now say now. We booked a scoping workshop with One Click Factory, and it was really good to learn how to segment solution, what are the issues of the solution, perhaps how it's possible to solve the solution, because the architecture will change. You can't do some things with apps in app stores you do with CRL. And so it was a very good experience to open the eyes and to learn what's required and what's possible good ways to go. And after we know this, we started this way. And with this big solution, we are still on the way. So it's not easy to say, yes, go and use the text to AL converter and compile and be happy. So you have to talk to someone who is really experienced and give you some hints and some comments how to solve this in the future. I think that's my idea.
I can comment a little bit as well. So from a business perspective, I think what we've seen many do is, of course, continue their on-prem business and use the income and revenue from that to move into the SaaS world. So not converting it all up front, but keeping some of that running. When you go into the SaaS world, it also seems that our partners try to make their solution a bit lighter to begin with. That means less investment. It also means that you can sell to the smaller customers that are currently the ones that seem to be going to Business Central SaaS. So there are a couple of tactics there that might actually be quite useful from an economic perspective. Yeah. So, and then we have one here where it says that to what extent the implementation on SaaS is different from on-prem.
To extend it? I mean,
Yeah, to what extent it's different from...
Oh, to what extent? Yeah. Well, I mean, you have to keep update with the every monthly update and the waves. And you have to build pipelines for your customizations and your apps if you do that. And that is a little bit what we took into consideration when we decided not to do the migrations to SaaS on our own, because this management of the customizations will be enough for us to set up. It's complicated enough. So that, I would say that's a difference. And the big upside is when you're on SaaS, I mean, the customer gets the upgrades, and you can plan your work in a better way, I think.
So from our perspective, from Comsol perspective, we are still now in a kind of a consolidation phase for those topics. So in SaaS, we are forced to do things like this, and we are forced to use tools like Git, like DevOps, more integrated, like pipelines, for example. In our product team has the need for pipelines more than in project business, I would say. But this also my target, my long-term or mid-term target is that also the establishing of pipeline usages in the project business as well. But this is later. First of all, is that there will not be any difference on the part of the extension management for people who are in SaaS, who are SaaS cloud ready, or who are on-prem in an old version. So first solution is to make all of the tools and the capabilities and also the processes from the requirement to the testing and so on the same. And if this is fitting, then we come with stuff like, for example, pipelines. And this will take a lot of energy, because you have to tell somebody who can add a field on a page in half a minute that he has now to follow a lot of steps when customer is calling and says, I have on-prem, I just need to, can you just put me those 3 fields in the customer list? Oh, yeah, sure, I can put it. I did it live, it was no matter. And yes, I did it 2 weeks ago, the same, and I should not. So what I want to say is, take your guidelines, build your guidelines for the SaaS, how you want to work, how you must work, and how you want to work, and then try to transform it to your on-prem customers and cloud-ready customers, and also the old ones, even somebody who is on an enough 2016 or 17 or whatever. And talk with your people, why they should do it, always why. And if they do not do it, ask them why. And maybe they tell, I don't have time. So then talk about time. But this will take time. I think for Comsol, it will need 1, 2, 3 years. Some consultants, some developers are faster. They adopt it very early. And if it's depending on organization structure and network, they will take some other people with them, and some others will need their time to learn it. But that's also my my task, yeah, to tell them why.
Okay, sounds good. I think we have answered all the questions that were there. So I think we will end the webinar now. Joachim, Alexander, Johan, it was wonderful to have you here today.
Yeah,
And thank you for sharing with our community all your thinking on how to approach this wonderful world of SaaS we are all moving towards.
Thanks for having us.
Everybody that called in today, thanks a lot. I saw that we had people from basically all over the world. It's always nice to see that. And I wish you all a good morning, good evening, or good lunch, wherever you are. Have a nice day.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
See
Bye.
you.
Bye-bye.
Heads up! Do you know that these fields and tables no longer exist in Business Central 2020 Release Wave 2? What do these changes mean for you? If the solution depended on those fields, you already had to adjust solution in order to upgrade to Business Central 2020 Release Wave 2. Do you know that more fields and tables will be removed? More than 100 fields and tables are pending removal within 1 year. What does this mean for you? All extensions have to be adjusted within 1 year in order to be compatible with the upcoming major releases of Business Central. Are you concerned about the capacity required to update extensions? Are you concerned about the costs involved? Sign up for One-Click Factory's extension maintenance to ensure extensions are always compatible with upcoming Business Central releases for a fixed monthly fee. Interested in learning more? Get in touch with us today.